Hi everyone, I'm Kyle Viveris from Your Daily Nerd, and today we're going to be talking about something that's been developing over the past few days, and I felt like it's about time that now that the majority of what seems like the details are coming out about this are kind of final at this point, it's time to actually kind of like start sitting down and analyzing what's going on. And it sounds strange at first when you hear the headline of the article, but then once you get into it, it kind of gets a little bit stranger. Basically, what we are talking about today is the fact that Epic Games is suing a 14-year-old boy. This kind of comes from their current crackdown on cheaters and people who are using cheat engines within their games. Recently, Epic announced that they are going to be suing a couple of different cheat engine software developers for basically modifying their game without any kind of permission from Epic Games. And as an extension of that, this lawsuit kind of came about and has been grabbing a few headlines. Most of these details I'm going to be talking about come from an article on The Verge. I highly encourage you to go and read that article. It's very well written. And but today in this video, we're going to be kind of covering the highlights of what's been going on with this. Basically, from what I understand, one of the first things that kind of went on record with this after the lawsuit came down was the mother of the 14-year-old boy responding to it and sending a letter to the judge on as to what the grounds are for why she feels like this case should be thrown out. And I feel like that's a good place to start with this because in this case, it seems like there could be a lot of different factors here that we have to weigh in on, and so Epic is suing this 14-year-old boy, and the mother in her letter to the judge kind of goes down a list as to why this case should be thrown out. Her first claim as to why it should be thrown out comes from that she claims that Epic has no proof of the kid cheating in the game. Epic has no firm way of proving that he did cheat in Fortnite. Fortnite is the game that's in question here. Epic has no proof of that. They also have no proof of that him using, if he did use said cheat engine, that it did not have any effect on their profits. There's no way for them to be able to tell that him and him alone using a cheat engine affected their profits in any kind of way. Especially because Fortnite is a free-to-play game, so the only kind of profits that would be, or Fortnite Battle Royale, that is a free-to-play game, and the only thing that it would be affecting would be sales of microtransactions, which, if you watched my last video, you know how I feel about microtransactions. The next thing that she says in this letter to the judge is that the EULA, the End User License Agreement, fails to legally bind underage users because the kid did not get parental consent to be playing the game in the first place. People often sign the End User License Agreement at the beginning when they start playing a game, kind of without reading it. You know, everybody always hits the "I agree to terms and service" kind of thing, so that way we just kind of get to things faster. In that End User License Agreement with Fortnite, it talks about the fact that if you are under the age of 18 or are not legally emancipated persons in the United States, you have to have a parental or guardian consent for you to be able to play the game. However, in the End User License Agreement, as the 14-year-old boy's mom points out, that there is no place for you to choose how old you are on that, so that you would need a parent consent. Also, the mom at no time was ever asked for the consent to actually be playing the game. The next part that she says in the letter is that she claims that this whole lawsuit is a scapegoat to crack down on cheaters, and that she also claims that Epic has not done anything to sue the distributors of said cheat engine, and is trying to just make an example by just using her son. I did a little bit of extra research, and I looked into it myself, and then it's also in that Verge article that in fact Epic is currently suing one of the distributors of this cheat engine. So in my opinion, claiming that they're not doing anything besides trying to make a scapegoat out of her son, I think is a little misleading in this case. And then finally she says that Epic released the name of the defendant, in this case her son, / a minor, her son, and that's also illegal in many states. So that's basically her reasons as to why she feels that this lawsuit should just be thrown right out. So Epic responds and says that this lawsuit has nothing to do with cheating, but it's the promotion of the cheating software on YouTube. Because the way that Epic found out about this was through a video that the 14-year-old boy was streaming on YouTube. It was basically Epic describes it as a how-to guide on how to download and install different cheat software and use it in their game. And so because of that, and because it was using their software, Epic filed a DMCA takedown, a copyright takedown of the video. And that's kind of where this all stems from. Epic made a statement to The Verge when asked about this lawsuit, and they said, as such, this particular lawsuit arose as a result of the defendant filing a DMCA counterclaim to a takedown notice on a YouTube video that exposed and promoted Fortnite Battle Royale cheats and exploits. Under these circumstances, the law requires that we file suit or drop the claim. Epic is not okay with ongoing cheating or copyright infringement from anyone at any age. As stated previously, we take cheating seriously and will pursue all available options to make sure our games are fun, fair, and competitive for players. So, with that being said, that brings us to the attention of why this is not just a one-sided, okay, Epic is being ridiculous in all of this. It's, at that point, it becomes, oh, Epic is not necessarily entirely in the wrong. Because at that point, we realize that Epic filed a DMCA takedown of the video because in their mind, and there's precedent for this, showing people how to cheat and mod an existing game is a violation of Copyright Act. And by having basically a how-to video of that on YouTube, it violates copyright. And so Epic was within their right as a company to say, hey, this needs to be taken down because it violates our ownership of the Fortnite Battle Royale property. And YouTube complies with companies when that happens. The boy in question saw that he was hit with a DMCA takedown, and rather than just leaving it lie, understanding, I know I was cheating, I got caught, instead decides to file a counterclaim saying that no, I do have the rights to this content, and so you can't make me take it down just because it's your game. And so that's kind of where we get to the weird part about this. It's kind of a gray area where it seems like the boy doesn't understand that he doesn't fully own this game. That just because he made a video about the game does not make the video necessarily his content. Because, in fact, this would basically be the equivalent of taking a movie, modifying the movie just a little bit, and then claiming, now this is mine. Like, for example, let's take the first Avengers movie. If I went in and I took let's say I took the part where Hulk said that he's always angry. Let's say I took that part right out. and then said, all right, this is no longer Disney's, this is mine. That's not okay. That is an infringement of copyright, and Disney would have every right to sue me in that case. So that's how that's kind of how all that breaks down. At that point, we kind of come to the point where the boy apparently still not really, I guess, it seems to me like he doesn't fully grasp like what's going on with this. He made a second video where in it he admits that he used the cheating software. He admits that he was live streaming himself cheating, and he admits that he refused to take down his initial video. So that's kind of where we are with the situation, as like what the defendant is saying and what the prosecution is saying with this. Based off of the end user license agreement that the boy signed, whether with or without parental consent, Epic can seek a fine of up to $150,000. Now that's up to. That doesn't necessarily mean that would be the number that they're looking for, but still, it's a high number. And this is the reason why it's this high is because he violated the end user license agreement, he broadcasted the cheating, and he refused to take down his video. And so kind of that's where this story is at this point. And so from here, what I wanted to talk about is what exactly an end user license agreement is, and what kind of the role as we as gamers have with the end user license agreement and what's going on. So an end user license agreement, here's like the actual like technical definition, is a legal contract between a software application author or publisher and the user of that app. It's similar to a rental agreement, and that the user agrees to pay for the privilege of using the software and promises to comply with the restrictions in the end user license agreement. So basically, by signing that saying that you agree with the EULA to play the game in the first place, whether you're purchasing it or you're playing a free-to-play game, you are having to comply with this agreement. So in this very technical sense, like, the boy is violating a legally binding document. Yes, he's a minor, so it's going to be difficult to figure out what happens from here as to if the lawsuit will go through, or if it'll just be a warning, or who knows what's going on. But I guess the most important lesson to be learned from this entire situation is that when you buy something, we'll just keep on using video games as the example because that's what we're about. When you buy a video game, you don't necessarily own that video game. You own a license to play that game. Because if you owned the game, it would be all about owning the actual intellectual property itself. As far as what I understand of how this all goes, you are not actually owning the game, you are owning a license to play the game. Like this definition says, the user agrees to pay for the privilege of using the software. And that's something that can be taken away if you violate the terms and service of what you agreed to. That's why it's kind of a tricky situation when you are on YouTube and you're watching Let's Plays, because the game companies allow streamers and YouTube gamers to use their product because in this case, as in their videos, because in this case it's a mutually beneficial thing. The YouTuber gets to use the game and increase their view count and grow an audience and basically build a career that way, and the gaming company gets to get some free advertisement out of you in this sense. But if they feel that you are violating or not representing their product correctly, they can file a copyright takedown notice, and YouTube 9 times out of 10 will side with with the company in this case, because they do in fact actually own the property. So I guess in summary, it's a kind of a warning for you and kind of something to open up your eyes a little bit to realize that just because you go and you purchase something for $60 does not necessarily mean officially that you own that thing. Or even if you just download it, you still need to, in this case, you will have to follow the terms and service and the agreement that you set forth from the beginning. And if you get caught for cheating because you make a YouTube video about how to set up a cheat engine, don't get pissed about it. I mean, like, I guess the biggest moral of the story is don't fucking cheat at video games. It's not cool. That's really all I have to say about this. Thank you for checking out this video. I really appreciate you taking the time. If you like this video, please subscribe down below. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Tell people you don't like. I'm going to grow this community so that way it can be something that prospers here in the future. I'm Kyle Veras from Your Daily Nerd. What do you nerd out about?